Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It's Sunday, April 9th, and we are here continuing a conversation with our guest, Maya Lau. She is the host of the brand new podcast called Other People's Pockets. And, it's so interesting because we got into a conversation about how we love the idea of listening in and learning about people's money stories. Of course, when I found out that to be a guest on Other People's Pockets, you have to disclose your own salary and net worth, et cetera, I was sort of like, no, I'm not going to do that. Mark, would you do that? Would you feel comfortable revealing all of that information about yourself?
Yeah, I don't think that would be a problem. I really don't.
Oh, brother, I must be an old so-and-so. Anyway, this is the second part of our interview with Maya Lau. Can I ask you a question about the financial investigation part of your life?
Sure.
Tell me more about that. What does that mean and what does it involve?
So it's kind of like being a financial journalist in terms of you're investigating different companies and the people who run them and just trying to understand more about how do they actually make money, or who's actually in charge, or what's kind of going on inside the company, not anything, not any insider trading type confidential stuff, but like just stuff that an investor would want to know. And so my clients are investment firms that are trying to, in the same way journalists do, just trying to ask more questions and research more deeply the companies that they're investing in.
Wait a minute. So I completely did not understand that. So you are being hired by, say, a private equity firm or a mutual fund company to go look at a specific company and do almost like help with due diligence?
Yeah.
Really? How'd you get into that? I'm excited. That's very intriguing.
It just came about as I was looking at post-journalism opportunities, and there were some people that I knew doing that. And actually, also by happenstance or by, like, sometimes the energy you put out in the world, you get back something unexpected. A recruiter reached out to me saying, hey, I have this client who wants help with this kind of work. And I, was like, oh, I think I can help. So the thing I find so interesting is journalists often, or at least in newspapers, there's a feeling of like, oh, there's nothing else that I could possibly do after this except PR, and I don't want to do PR. But there's so many industries that use the same skills as journalism, but they don't call it that. They don't use the same language to talk about it. But it's basically the skill of going out, understanding a really complex issue, synthesizing it into something that's understandable for someone else, and making sense of it. Like, that's really all it is. And there's so many different companies that need people with those skills.
Have you done any work on the world of crypto?
I have not, but that's certainly very interesting and hard to understand.
And what about AI? Are you worried that like the things that you're doing right now in terms of investigations would essentially be able to be conducted with AI as sort of predictive, like that you get a whole bunch of reports, you run it all through, and you like have 1,000 variables there, and then it comes back and you say, write a financial investigative report about ABC DEF Co.
I just think in general, AI is such a interesting and at times scary space. It like really makes you think in so many industries, not just journalism or investigation. It can replace humans. Like music, my friend who's a musician is like, there's so many songs getting written by AI now. And, he's a musician and writes music as well, and is just annoyed and worried about what that means. I think, I was talking to somebody who works in AI, not related to my job at all. This was social. And the person was like, oh, but, at the end of the day, humans are the ones controlling it or whatever. And
that's the problem.
I know. It's like, yeah, but that's like saying guns don't kill people, people kill people. Like, yeah, but if they're I don't know how this ends. So yeah,
it's like the more you read and listen and think about this, the more frightening it becomes. I was sort of the mind like, you know what? I'm in my late 50s. I don't have to really concentrate
I don't
on
have
this.
to worry about
I'm
that.
done. This is essentially what my mother said about like texting. Do I have to?
Do
And
I
I'm
have to
like,
do this? Yeah.
Yes, you do. And then I was like, yeah, I have to, which is such a drag. But I'm hopeful to be well on the other side of it before I'm completely replaced. No, I figure that, I mean, look, I think that the idea of being an investigator, there is an enormous amount of information. The idea of distilling it in a way that people can understand it is huge. And I think that there's also judgment, like what's good, what's bad, like what's real, what's not. So I do think that that is, to me, a real distinguishing characteristic.
Yeah, and I think that it's important. It's been important for me to understand the value of someone paying you for how you think about something. Like, it's not just that anyone can do this, and obviously there are other people that can do what I do, but the value that I provide is not just that I can do it or I can do it faster. It's that it's how I think about it. It's my analysis of it. And I think that that's a really important place to get to in anyone's career, to not just feel like you're a cog in the machine, but like, how can I provide a value that's my insight about something? Because that is actually what they're paying for, you know? So it's taken me a while to kind of get to a place where I see that, you know, and I don't just feel, I think as a newspaper reporter, sometimes, of course, my analysis and my take was very much like in my stories. And as a writer, you have to have a point of view. But at the same time, I felt a little like I'm just one of many reporters and there's other people that are just as good or better than me. But figuring out just in the marketplace kind of how you provide additional value, I think is really interesting.
Let me ask you another question. So you just made a huge move in your personal life. How's that going?
Location-wise, moving to Mexico City, it's great. We moved to Mexico City, my husband and 3-year-old daughter and I. We moved here in November, and it was linked to my husband's work. And it's great. You know, I don't want to jinx it. And you know, there's definitely a problem with Americans and many other foreigners and digital nomads moving to Mexico City and moving to places around the world that are seen as cheaper by Americans, and, you know, people coming here and not speaking the language and not really, you know, just gentrifying the place and being kind of colonialist and being like speaking English really loudly. And, you know, I don't want to be a part of that. And it's complicated, but I am, you know, I do speak Spanish not very well. I really need to improve it. But that's part of what I'm looking forward to and do a little bit every day here. And, you know, I've lived abroad before. I love being a fish out of water. I love every day there being a challenge. Like, there's something about my everyday life I don't understand. Like, how does the trash system really work? And what, you know, like, I like that. And it's been really cool to see our daughter pick up Spanish super quickly. Yeah, it's a great experience. And I don't know how long we'll be here, but I don't miss anywhere. You know, I don't. No, I mean, I miss aspects. You know, it's kind of
Where did you grow up? Like, actually, did you grow up in a family that moved around a lot?
No, I grew up in San Diego. And
now I understand why you wanted to go other places.
Exactly. I was like, get me out of here.
Can I just say, like, we need some new marketing for San Diego, because I was just talking about this with my sister-in-law who just got back from a conference, and she said to me, it's like such an interesting and rich history, but all they do is like, you know, have a silly amount of golf courses and tennis courts and now pickleball. And like, it's just such an interesting history with Mexico and the influences of Spanish culture. And she's like, it's like forgotten. What happened? Speak on behalf of your city of birth.
San Diego is a really interesting place. It's a Navy town. And when my parents moved there, it was very much a military town and not super interesting as they described it. And growing up, I felt like, I mean, it's a lovely place to be when you're little. And then when I was in high school, I just felt like this is so boring. I don't want to go to the beach all the time. Like, I really want to live on the East Coast and have weather and brick buildings and stuff like that. It actually has changed. I mean, it's one of the largest cities in the U.S. I mean, it's bigger than San Francisco. it's pretty diverse. I mean, not in terms of every different ethnicity, but the food is really good. It's a beer scene. There's a huge microbrewing scene there. There's a lot more going on there than there was when I was in high school. And so I do think that people just don't think of it as an interesting place. And every time I go back and visit, I'm like, this is actually really nice. But yeah, it's just, there's a bit of just a beach vibe, and I just like to, walk my dogs and, have burritos and like hang out type vibe, which can be great. But I was definitely like, get me out of here. I want to see the world. I would like to maybe retire here, but I do not want to, but no shade to, again, it's like, I don't want to sound like anyone who wants to live there is, I get it. It is more than the beach. It really is. But yeah, I think growing up, I wanted to see other things too.
Where's your next place? Where's the next place you want to live?
I'm not sure. I don't tend to be somebody who has like a hard 5-year plan, but I would not hate living in Europe.
Yes. Now you're talking my language. Mark and I are all about that.
Yeah.
Really, totally all about that. We're like, wow. Yeah. Mark's going to move to Italy.
Yeah. And, and Portugal is another one of these places that it's been written about so much. It's just overrun with Americans now. And it's just, it's like you don't want to be that person. So I'm just I'm thinking about that, but yeah, I wouldn't hate that. So
all right, well, this is very good. Maya Lau, thank you so much for joining us. And you know what? It is very cool because I like when people are doing different things, especially instead of like sitting around and whining about how your industry is going away. How about recreating a different industry and using your skills elsewhere? The podcast is called Other People's Pockets. Maya Lau is the host, the creator, and the all-around cool former investigative journalist. Aren't you always an investigative journalist? It's hard to say.
Hard to turn off. Yeah.
Not happening. Okay. If you have a financial question, if you want to know how your job is going to be replaced by an AI bot, then just give us a holler. JillOnMoney.com is the website. Click the Contact Us button. While you're there, you can buy The Great Money Reset. It's my brand new book. And you can subscribe to the new service, Jill on Money Live. Do something nice for someone else today. Happy Easter to those of you who are celebrating. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.